The wealth that you want is actually being blocked by your own beliefs.
It's one of the biggest things that blocks people from their success. Yeah, absolutely. And I know it firsthand from the countless people that we speak to on a daily basis.
Yeah. Identity is something we do need to talk about. Shapes your financial outcomes.
The most important thing is them being aware of that. Self-reflection, introspection is really important because
how can people begin to rewire that identity that holds them back?
Number one thing I think is to...
I get messages all the time asking me how I went from 100,000 in bad debt to a $13 million portfolio. By watching this show every week, I will share exactly how I did it, how I achieved it, and the lessons that I've learned along the way. So do me a favor and please subscribe to our channel. It's simple, it's free, and it helps keep the show going for you. This is where you eat and we talk about changing the way that you think about money with insights from successful investors, entrepreneurs, and everyday people taking control of their financial futures. So double check that you're subscribed, and thank you for being part of this journey.
Welcome everybody to the Lunchtime Investor show, where you get to listen while we do the talking. And I tell you what, this is part 2 of a 2-part series. The real reason that you're not successful, and it's not what you think. And here in the studio we have Eamon. Eamon Kitty, how's it going?
Going good, thank you.
All right, most of you know and love Eamon. He's our gold success manager here at Investment Mastery. But he's also two things that most people don't know. Well, you know that you're a technical analysis expert. That's your real forte. But also an expert on trading psychology and mindset. And you've helped, what we should say, I don't know how many people, countless,
yeah, it's too many to count.
Countless clients, yeah, work on their psychology to achieve huge results. So, are you excited?
Very excited.
Very excited. All right. So, what if the wealth that you want is actually being blocked by your own beliefs, right? But you don't even know that you have them. Is that possible? Do you think people are blocking their beliefs without really knowing?
Oh yeah, firsthand. I know that for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Not just from my own experience, but from the countless people that we speak to on a daily basis.
Yeah. So, for example, why you keep repeating the same money mistakes, right? So we're going to be discussing that, the psychology behind hesitation, doubt, fear, etc., and how your internal identity, now identity is something we do need to talk about, shapes your financial outcomes. Like, who do you see yourself as, and the hidden mental habits that stop most beginners, especially beginners, from ever succeeding. So I have a question for you, right? If most people never break through in investing because of their inner identity, it tells them that they're not smart enough, or I'm not lucky enough, or not the kind of person who becomes wealthy. Question to you is this: how can people begin to rewire that identity that holds them back?
I think you started off by the most important thing is them being aware of that. And then it's a case of, I always think self-reflection, introspection is really important, because you get to become aware of those things that are holding you back and what you actually then need to rewire, work on.
So self-reflection, introspection. So what do they start doing? What do they have to do?
So number one thing I think is to figure out what it is that they want to change. So let's say, for example, it's their spending habits. Okay, perfect. They're aware that their spending habits are not serving them. Okay, track your spending. Okay, and then you need to figure out, when you're reviewing your spending, okay, why am I making those decisions? Is there some programming that I had in my childhood, in my past, that I can see why these behaviors are popping up? Oh, I saw my mother doing this, or I saw my father doing this.
Do you have any examples of that for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the time, when I was younger, we didn't have much at all, and it was always my mother was better. Well, my mother was better. She was always the one that was like, okay, well, how can we? It wasn't we can't. It wasn't ever the case of we can't. It was always, how can we? Where my father, on the hand, was a little bit different. It's like, oh, we can't right now.
And what do you like?
Yeah.
Or put it this way: growing up, did you emulate more your father or your mother?
I was around with my mother a lot more, and so therefore I think I emulate my mum more. I think
the how can I?
the how can I, but
Yeah.
but also I wasn't aware of that until I came here, and then I started to listen to you with, you know, the mindset content on the workshops. And then I did a lot of work with Madrika actually in 2019, 2020, where she helped me break through a lot of childhood trauma.
Right.
And only after that did my trajectory just go like that.
Hold on. So you had childhood trauma. Do you think most people have childhood trauma, or only you had it, or?
No, I think
Everybody
it's
has it?
a common thing.
Okay, so
Yeah, for
can
sure.
you share with us what your trauma was?
Yeah, I can. I grew up in a very chaotic household. No real stability. For, you know, my early childhood, I went to probably like 10 different primary schools.
Okay.
So there wasn't ever any stability. I didn't stay.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Why? Because you got thrown out, or?
No, because we were moving place to place. We're getting a bit deep here, but we're moving place to place. You know, trying to get away from my father, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I never stayed in school long enough to even understand what was going on.
I know, you just get into it,
You just get into it, and
then you're
and then
moving
I'm
again.
moving again.
Wow. Were you like, all right, you were running away from?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your relationship like now with your father?
It's a lot better now.
Yeah.
We reconnected when I was like 18
Okay.
years old.
Right.
And yeah, it's a lot better now. But during that time, I just didn't have any and so, you know, when people ask me, oh, why are you so calm? How are you so calm?
Yes.
I think because I grew up in that sort of environment, I always sought after the calm, if you see what I mean, right? Because it's like there was so much chaos. I was like, I need to run away from the chaos. I need to find calm.
Wow. And then you found that inner calm
Yeah.
because of that. So this is really interesting then. So you said introspection. I don't think many people will do that. I think they go, it's their fault, it's the government, it's the economy, it's right now, it's my partner, it's my parents, and all this kind. But you're actually saying, find out what within you is stopping you.
I'm very much a thinker as well. I've always been that way. So it might not come naturally to a lot of people, but I've always been a deep thinker. I've always been someone that is I always introspectively look at things. And I only think that I really became aware of it when I came here in 2016.
I think it is difficult for a lot of people. And I think that to get somebody else, doesn't have to be a coach, although that would be the best, but maybe like a friend, a family member, etc., to ask you questions. Like, so for example, if you say, well, what is your why? People just go, I don't, because it's just here. But yeah, but why do you want that? And you go deeper. Okay, great. Thank you. Now, why do you want that? And you go deeper. Okay, great. But why do you want that? And I go, oh, wow, this is really why, right? Do you think people can do that by themselves?
I think they can, but they can definitely do it a lot faster with, like you said, a coach, kind of coaching them through that process, for sure.
But also a coach won't let them get away with any kind of peripheral shit, you know, like, oh, I don't want to do it right now or whatever, or an answer that, hey, you didn't really go deeper. Now, come on now, I know you can do this. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a coach, but it could be somebody else to go really deeper. But I think it is important to do that, to ask yourself those really deeper questions, and to find out what is really hindering you, what is really stopping you. And what I understood just now is what's stopping you that happened when you were growing up.
Yeah. And I think, to be honest with you, the stuff that I worked on with Madrika were like things I wasn't even consciously aware of. But she asked me to, she said, go away and just write on a page, like write every memory that you have, like as you were growing up. And one of the memories was my mother and father. And I don't know whether this was a dream or whether it actually happened, but it's like a vivid memory of mine. Like they were holding each arm, and one was saying, "Come with me, come with me."
Oh, so your mum was, and your dad was over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
That could be very traumatic.
And then because you're torn between, you don't know, obviously you want to be with both. You don't want to be, you don't want to be detached from either one of them. Yeah, so we did a lot of work on healing, speaking to that child, and telling that child it's going to be okay, it's fine, but also forgiving them for putting me in that situation. And this doesn't really come back. This doesn't really speak to this, but that was a traumatic event that.
Well, that's an example. There could
Yeah.
be another one that might speak to that.
Yeah.
This could speak to other things. By the way, you can reframe that entire thing by saying, well, they both wanted me. How amazing.
Yeah, true.
You know, sometimes it's like, yeah, take him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. So that's good. So again, how can people begin rewiring the identity that holds them back? You're saying go deep, go internal.
Yeah, I believe that's the best place to start. Being aware of your habits and the things that you're doing on a daily basis, and then working on, okay, well, how do I stop these things from popping up again? How do I stop myself from doing these things?
Well, I think people avoid things like that because that sounds hard.
Yeah,
That sounds out of think.
Yeah. But it's got to be done. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to achieve those things.
Interesting. It's got to be done. Interesting. Because some people, I think, I'd rather watch a film.
Yeah.
So much easier. Come on. Escapism. I'd rather drink something. I'd rather go out for a meal. I'd rather watch a movie.
Distraction. I'd rather distract myself from the reality of having to change something that might feel uncomfortable in the moment, but you're always going to feel better for it afterwards. But you just don't know that in the moment.
So it must be done. I think that's very powerful. So it must be done. It's almost like it's your duty to get to the next level. And
yeah.
And even though it might not feel great in the moment, every single time you will be grateful that you did it.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. It's like, I mean, I enjoy going to the gym, so this doesn't really relate to me, but someone that doesn't enjoy that process, you'll always hear them say afterwards, I felt better for going. So it might feel uncomfortable before or during, but you'll always feel good for it after, because it's a positive change that you're making.
What if somebody said to you, if you feel uncomfortable about something, that's exactly what you need to do, because that is your body, your mind telling you that's where I need to go. What would you say?
I guess I would react to that much differently now than I would back then. I'd probably react negatively back then, but right now I'm like, okay, cool, let's work on it.
Yeah. Would you agree though? Would you agree that if you have a fear of something or you feel discomfort, that's exactly your body telling you that's exactly what I have to do?
Yeah.
Talk about reframing the entire thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, thank you for telling me.
And I did so on the members meeting that just went.
Okay, tell us about that.
Very uncomfortable, going on stage and speaking in front of people. And again, having the right people around you, pushing you, yourself, Dennis, telling me, come on, we need to, we want you up there. We want you to be up on stage. And then I went up there and I enjoyed it.
So just what you just said.
Yeah.
Feel all the better for it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you do the coaching on a daily basis. So why would you not?
I know. I guess it's a different arena. It's a different setting. There's a different pressure, maybe. There's a lot more eyes on you. There's a lot more pressure to perform.
But what meaning do you attach to all that?
What do you mean?
Well, so for example, there's more people watching. So what? But you attach a meaning to it. Like, uh-oh, there's more people watching. Some people would go, there's more people watching, yay! And you're going, uh-oh, there's more people watching. So what meaning? Because it's all about the meaning. Listen, nothing has meaning except the meaning we give something, right? Could walk past a beautiful woman, she smiles. You can either go, wow, she likes me, or she go, what's wrong? What is my fly open? What's going on? Why is she laughing? So what meaning do you attach to it? Did you attach to it?
Honestly?
Yeah.
It's more so trying to impress you than anything else, because all of those people in the room, I know them. I've spoken to them.
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them,
Well,
right? Most of them.
I mean, there were 200 there and 300 online. You don't know all of them.
Not all of them, but the majority of them I know. And the majority of them have at some stage said to me, oh, you're the reason I joined Gold, for example. Or, oh, your teaching is, for me, it's the best, for example.
So that's easy for you.
Yeah.
Because you know them and they're a fan. Okay. So there were certain people in the room where you thought, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
But you're glad
And
you did it.
maybe, yeah, glad I did it. I'm glad I did it. Yeah, for sure.
That's really interesting. So limiting beliefs are deep-rooted, would you say, ingrained in our psyche, but they can be beaten.
Yes, of course.
But how?
By doing the work that we mentioned
doing the
before.
work?
Doing the work.
But
yeah.
you could do that forever. You can keep doing the work. Why don't you go into a mountaintop for 20 years, do some introspective work,
But then you got to test whether it's working or not.
right,
You got-
taking the action.
Yeah, taking the action, but then reflecting, has this actually had any positive change on me or not?
Hmm. And if not, keep going back.
And if
to the
not,
thing.
change the approach.
See, I just think that is like a really slow way of doing it. I think you need a coach, because a coach is going to go, really, just, like move, I mean, I could work out by myself, but I don't think I would get the same results. But I know I wouldn't get the same. But I know myself. Maybe knowing yourself is the first step.
But do you think that if you had a passion for the thing, then maybe that changes?
Absolutely. But here we're talking about most people sabotaging themselves with their limiting beliefs, etc., to achieve something that they really want. So
I think regardless, you need a coach for sure,
Mm.
because there's things that a coach or a mentor, through their experience and their wisdom, will be able to pick up and notice
Absolutely.
you doing,
and that
you're
coach
not.
could be a family friend.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a coach or you certified or whatever, but you do need somebody who just pushes you, sometimes kicks you, sometimes cajoles you, tickles you, so therefore a coach is good because they kind of have coaching skills like you do. Let's look at this. Here's Tony Robbins showing how you can begin to alter that mindset, right? Let's listen to this. And if you want to take some notes, we can do as well. Let's play this video.
The only thing that screws you up is limiting beliefs that you don't investigate, that you just accept. It's not truth. And somebody said to you to say, you're going to pay the consequence for this. The consequence is for you to change it. That's the consequence you should go for. So what I look to do with people is help them uncover what's really stopping them. And it's two things. It's the state you're in, the mental emotional state. When you're pissed off, frustrated, sad, depressed, overwhelmed, you can't fight your way out of a paper bag, right? Because in that state, you're not resourceful. If you are feeling playful or creative or passionate or driven or hungry or grateful, you get a whole different set of insights and thoughts. So it's learning to prime yourself, train yourself, snap yourself out of it physically that makes the difference. But then it's also finding what's holding you there. What's holding you there is usually a blueprint, a set of beliefs, a set of rules. And when you see the truth, it instantly changes the game for you. When you witness it, when you experience it, what's real.
Okay, I mean, I didn't understand all of that, I have to be honest. Like, if you witness it, what's real. But what came up for you there?
Number one thing was awareness, because he was talking about the things that you're not aware of or that you don't know. Like, you need to investigate those things, right?
Yes, don't accept those limiting
Yeah,
beliefs.
don't accept them.
But if you don't know that they're there,
I guess it will get to a point where you do realize that you're there, because you'll look at your life situation and
Yeah.
you'll be like, I need to change something
you're like
at some point.
flying bzz, boom, against the window.
You know what I mean?
Bzz, boom. Luckily, we're not flies.
Yeah, like I just feel like at some point, life is going to show you that you're doing something.
Yeah, but if you
That's
that's
not
only if you're
serving
having a pain,
Yes.
and then it's like, okay, I need to do something
Yeah.
different.
Okay.
How can we not get there? How can we not wait until that pain? Because all I'm trying to do in the workshops always is to say, listen, I need you to feel the pain now,
Yeah.
so you don't feel it for real later, because later it's too late. So give yourself more pain and pleasure.
I struggle to think that whether that's even possible. Like, because you need something that
You need
gets you.
somebody else. Yeah, you need somebody else. One thing that he says is about the state, though, because I always talk about awareness and then environment.
Yeah.
He's added something here, which is your mental emotional state. If you're angry, pissed off, whatever, versus passionate, hungry, grateful, which are much more positive. So to train yourself to get into that and then take action. What do you think about that?
I think that speaks to like having a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset, right? If you reframe any situation and you look at it from the growth mindset standpoint, you're always going to draw different insights. You're always going to have a different energy. And so that's what I think he's speaking to there. Do you think?
I think what he's saying is that either you need to have the conscious, before you do anything, you got to get yourself into a certain state, a positive state, and you will get totally different results than if you just, go in whatever state you're in, whatever it is. Could be a good one, could be a bad one, right? You will get totally different results. So it's kind of an NLP trick, or he calls it neuroassociative conditioning in NAC, but it's basically being able to, well, first of all, know the awareness that you need to get yourself into what he calls peak state before you make any decisions about anything. That's what he's known for.
And I agree with that, because think about your attitude before you get into anything. If you already think that you can't do it, you're already beaten. And so if you go into it with a different energy, a different way of approaching it, yeah, you're gonna make the most out of that situation.
But he would say, like, all right, before we're gonna have this meeting, everybody take a drink of water. Everybody stand up. Everybody do 10 jumping jacks. All right, can we do it? Yes. Can we do it? Yes. Now let's start the meeting. Is very different to, God, another meeting. Sorry, I'm late. Right, what's the agenda about? Like, oh, God, help me. Totally different outcome. Same meeting, totally different outcome, no?
Yeah, I actually do that a lot, especially before webinars and things like that. Just because I know that the energy that I reflect is exactly how that meeting is going to go. So yeah, I'm always priming myself before webinars and before any sort of meeting one-on-one that I'm doing on a daily basis. When I need to, right? There's some days that you wake up and you're absolutely bouncing.
Before making an investment or a trade, is there a certain thing that you do to get yourself ready?
Just the process. Nothing. Yeah, actually, yes, because you can, before you've even taken the trade, you can already think to yourself that you can already have a negative view of the trade that you're going to take,
Especially if you just had some losses.
Especially if you just had some losses, and maybe you're just feeling, yeah, exactly, you're just feeling anxious, going into the markets the next day. The first thing is going back, and so what I do is go back to the basics. I never get bored with the basics.
What are the basics?
So the basics are, what is it at base level that I'm trying to take advantage of in the marketplace, right? What is it that I'm looking for? What setup do I know that if I see it on the charts, I know exactly what is likely to happen next, as long as the set of conditions that I'm looking for to present themselves on the charts.
So isn't that a blueprint for success? Because obviously there we're talking about the markets, but it could be before going into a business meeting, or it could be if you're talking to your boss, or it could be any meeting, or it could be property or anything. But that's a blueprint. Get back to the basics before you get. And his one is to get yourself into what he calls prime kind of peak state before you go into anything. Do you believe that the mind is the only thing that you can truly control?
Do I believe that the mind is the only thing that you can truly control?
Weather.
Yeah, no, I believe that.
So shouldn't we be spending like the majority of the day working on our mindset?
Yeah.
Until you don't need to anymore.
Yes, and I'm sure it's the case for you, but at this stage, I don't really have to put a conscious effort in working on it anymore. It's just something that I do.
Unless you want to go to the next level.
Which is actually something that, again, talking about introspection, over the last maybe year and a half, I've been playing the game not to lose. Quite honestly, I haven't been playing the game to win. And I go through phases where I do play the game to win. And then, for whatever reason, maybe I lose a little bit of confidence. Maybe there is a little bit of losing streak, etc.
So what is different about this time?
It's the evidence that I've built over the years that helps me to know that regardless of if I do get a losing streak, it's not going to that's not going to define me as a trader. It's going to pass. The next trade will be a winner.
And you
Having
can
that
use
mindset.
that again, another blueprint. So write down where you've been successful. I was talking about Bill Bartman, who has a 15-page handwritten kind of like, I was born, the first time I did this, first time I spoke a language, first time I went abroad, first time I kissed a girl, first time and obviously the projects get bigger and bigger and bigger. And he reads that. It's what you said about going back to the basics before anything, right? So I'm going to start a new project. All right, great, basics, right through this thing. Oh yeah, I'm a winner. Right, let's go. I'm going to go in to ask for a raise. Okay, okay, like that. People don't. They wing it. They don't prepare themselves. And back to Tony about getting into peak stake. And peak stake could be whatever it is that you're doing. Could be something else, and that's very important. And what about external factors, which you can't actually, the government, and because things might not be. People always talk about things aren't going well in the UK, things aren't going well in the world, and if that's the case, is it even worth bothering?
Yeah.
So focusing on what can we focus on?
Focus on only what you can control. You can't control all of that outside noise.
So what is it? What is it that we can control?
Our decisions, the actions that we take.
That all comes from mindset.
Yeah, and the planning that you do to make sure that you're not going to be as affected by those, by those things.
So again, the planning, the setup, the bit before, whatever you want to call it, whatever you and almost why not do the same thing for the day? So in the morning, set yourself up for the day. Now there's things you can't control, but you can control that.
Yeah, you can control your non-negotiables. For example, going to the gym if that's a daily habit for you. Going for a walk if that's a daily habit for you. Doing your pre-market analysis, for example. All of those things you can control, and that's all that you can focus on.
Do you believe that your attitude becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? So, for example, if I didn't think that I could get a high-paying job of £500,000 a year, would I send in my CV to a job that pays £500,000 a year? I wouldn't. And therefore, I will never have a job that pays £500,000 a year. Self-fulfilling prophecy. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think if you don't have the right attitude, you're already beaten. Quite simply, right? If you don't go into something believing that it's possible, believing that you can achieve it, you're already beaten. And that's a lot of our responsibility, by the way. Our duty to our members and our clients is instilling a belief and instilling a confidence that they can do it. And especially I've realized that's actually a huge part of my work on a daily basis is to give people the confidence that they can do it, because a lot of people come into this thinking that it's all of those limiting beliefs that you mentioned, right? They're thinking that they can't do it for whatever reason.
So shouldn't we be asking them right from the bat of all their limiting beliefs about it? I think you mentioned that at the beginning. So, it was Dennis who basically said in part 1, he said one of the things he does when he coaches people is first of all say, okay, so do you have any doubts about what we're about to do? Okay. And then they come up with these things. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Sometimes limiting beliefs can control all areas of your life, relationships, work, anything, right? Finance, anything. Because if you don't think you're good enough, and that's the most basic one, then surely you can't be good enough for a relationship. You can't be good enough for money. You can't be good enough to be fit. So I think we're going to read this, and I'm going to read it out loud, and then I'd love to see your reaction about thinking outside the box and fulfilling your potential. This is, you got to throw me away. I mean, is that their handle? You got to throw me away. I mean, mine is Wealth Master. What a difference straight away.
Yeah.
You got to throw me away. I'm like, really? That's your handle? Do I need to carry on? Has anyone here successfully broken through self-limiting beliefs and reached a state of financial abundance? I don't know. You got to throw me away. Let's find out, shall we? I've been studying the dynamics of entrepreneurship extensively for the past year. It's at the point where I know almost everything about how to launch a successful tech startup in theory, but I can't seem to get myself to even try, and it's incredibly upsetting. I seem to have some sort of mental block that pops up whenever I consider delivering a product for which people will actually pay money. The only way I can envision money coming into my life is through the standard 9 to 5. This likely stems from the fact that I've never actually sold something to anyone for money and from being surrounded by others with incredibly limiting financial beliefs my whole life. The concept of financial abundance is just so foreign to me that I simply cannot relate to it. And that's Bolden. I cannot relate to it. And it forces me into inaction. If you can't envision yourself succeeding at some point, it makes it incredibly difficult to give it a shot. What are your thoughts about that?
The good thing is that he's aware, first and foremost. He's aware of what's holding him back. But you can see very clearly that he's just self-sabotaging. He's not even trying. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not even giving himself the permission to fail, the permission to make mistakes.
I think he's on his way to, but the very first thing, look, here's an identity. Identity is who you are. I am a father. That I have to make money to provide for my family. You know, because you recently became a father.
Yeah.
You have to provide. That is non-negotiable. Okay. His identity is you got to throw me away.
Yeah.
That's insane. Now, some people look at this and go, "Oh, that's not." Well, yes, that's his identity. But the thing is, you might say, well, that was his identity. Well, then get rid of that handle. Change that handle. It stems from there.
Yeah.
It's an identity problem. And so he's now starting and he's asking questions, which is great. So he's starting to get that awareness for sure. What else would you say about that?
Nothing else really. I think you've covered it. The only thing for me is that I always encourage people, because this is what I had to do, is to give myself permission to fail, the permission to make mistakes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right? Because growing up, your programming throughout school is you can't make a mistake. Right? You can't.
It's a red line.
Yeah.
The red pen.
So when I decided that I wanted to be the best technical analyst out there, I gave myself the permission to say, hey, listen, I'm going to fail at this for a few years before I can think about being good, right? Because you got to make mistakes. You got to test. You got to be a scientist almost, right? You got to experiment different things, find out what works, find out what doesn't work.
Well, you say that, but this is really interesting. This person, I don't know whether it's he or she, this person is saying that I can't really do it because I don't think they have given. That was a bit of a golden nugget there, that you just gave. Because they think that it has to succeed right from the beginning. Otherwise, they'd go, oh, so it's okay not to. Oh, well, then why don't I just give it a go?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what he's not giving himself permission to do.
Yeah.
Just give it a go. Just see how it works out, because you're going to learn by doing, right? You're going to learn from your experiences. You're going to learn from those mistakes. I don't take back any mistake that I've made. I don't take it back, because it's brought me to where I am today, the person I am today, or the skill set that I've developed.
I'm actually still astounded by what you said, because I really thought you were going to go, I give myself permission to succeed, and therefore I'm going to succeed. Some people give yourself permission, but you actually went to, I give myself permission to fail.
Permission to make mistakes. Permission
to make mistakes. So therefore, go for it.
Exactly.
Wow.
What will happen will happen.
Wow.
And then you'll learn along the way. You'll refine along the way. And you'll be a lot better for it in the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you think that some people they have a belief, an innate, unconscious belief that getting rich, getting wealthy, etc., is for other people? It's not actually for them.
Yes, because I think a lot of people grow up with those, those throwaway comments, like, oh, it's, money doesn't grow on trees, or like money is difficult to attain,
Did you ever have anything like that growing up?
Not that, I mean, I'm sure it was the case. Not that I can remember like specifically, but I'm sure that was the case, because it was only until I surrounded myself in this environment, that what's the 1% every single day? What's the 1% improvement? What's the being aware of, okay, what are my limiting beliefs? What are those thought patterns that I have that I need to break free of? So yeah, I'm sure that they were. I can't remember
You
anything.
can't. Okay. And it's interesting because you said go inside, try and find out what they are, right? So what is actually limiting? What's the first step, would you say, in rebuilding self-trust when someone has zero evidence that they can succeed?
I think the answer's in the question. You've got to start building that evidence.
How?
So for example, if I relate it back to trading, it's for me it was about building evidence of a system or a process that works, right? And proving that process works over time. So it's not just going back into historical data and seeing whether something, a circumstance will work or a situation will work, but then it's about saying, okay, can I build a system that also will work in the future, and then testing that. And then once you've got all that data, if it's not, we were speaking about this before, if it's not measured, it can't be improved, right? So if you're not tracking your data, how are you going to know whether something works? How are you going to build any evidence that what you're eventually going to do works?
But it's interesting that you said that give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But then if you do make mistakes, which you will probably at the beginning, then you're like, oh, I'm making mistake upon mistake upon mistake upon mistake. So do I carry on? At what stage do I finish?
But it's what you're doing with the feedback. It's what you're doing with again, relating it back to trading. If I test a particular theory and the market tells me, hey, listen, that theory does not work here. Okay, that's feedback. That theory does not work, or that thing that I thought was viable it doesn't work. But equally, there's going to be times where you test something and you're like, oh, I'm onto something here. This aspect works, or this thing works. And then it's about building upon, okay, what works, until you have an overall process, an overall structure, and then you test that, you build evidence. You can see that evidence in black and white on a trading journal or a trading diary, and there's your evidence there. And
I think
that's you building that trust.
Is it Thomas Edison who took him 10,000 attempts before he built a light bulb that worked? But he said none of those 10,000 were failures. They were just him saying, well, that one, so now I'm one step towards doing it because I know that doesn't work. Great. So great. Now next 10,000, and then there you go. So it's just saying, actually failure, as long as what you were saying. So feedback, great. It's the feedback doesn't work. Now I'm one step ahead towards but this is all a mindset, isn't it?
Yes, I believe so.
Wow. I always think that if you don't trust yourself, how can anybody else trust you? And I think that, that's.
I agree. Yeah.
At some stage, you just have to go, I don't know much, but what I do know, and let's go. Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with, if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anybody else to love you back as well?
Absolutely. So upgrading your environment, we talked about identity shifts. I have to say, just what I guess one way is to model yourself on somebody, right? That's the easiest way, isn't it? You see somebody, you go, right, I'm going to model it. You don't go copy, but kind of copy. So what do they wear? You might feel better wearing what they wear, right? How do they act? How do they talk? How do they walk? Do they have their shoulders back, or do they have it forward? Do they smile during meetings, or are they like this? So just starting to do that, and then that becomes a habit.
I think we do that throughout our whole lives, right? There's people that we look up to, role models, whether it's parents, whether it's people in a profession or an area that we're interested in, whether it's sports or performing arts or something like, or acting or something like that. I think we're doing it all the time. We're attracted to. I think that we all have this like innate thing to want to be better, right? And you're always going to model something that you think is going to help you to go on and achieve that.
You'd hope so. Do you think people are like that?
I mean, I like to think so.
That's what came out for me. I like to think so. What about celebrating small wins?
That's so huge. Such a big thing. Because if you can't celebrate the small wins, how are you going to celebrate the big ones? And it's so important to continue to celebrate, because it's like building your confidence, one small win at one small win at a time.
Building your confidence. So maybe that's a way of building your confidence.
Yeah.
Just what again, the 15 pages of written. So, but you have to recognize and acknowledge them as being something first. So somebody might go, well, everyone was born. Why would I write that down? But this billionaire dude is writing down, I was born, beating billions of your potential brother and sister sperm.
Yeah.
So that you're already a winner right from the beginning. So the rest you can forget. But most people would say, yeah, but the first time I swam, well, everyone does that, surely. And that's also not true. Not everyone does learn how to swim.
That's true.
Oh, interesting. So celebrating small wins, because we always say that success breeds more success. Eamon, how has improving your growth mindset benefited your life?
How long you got? So, I mean, if I think back to like when I first started here, I had nothing to my nothing to my name. And then coming onto the workshops, in the beginning, just helping out with the workshops before, I started coaching and things like that, listening to your mindset pieces on the workshops, talking about the pain and the pleasure, talking about the limiting beliefs and things like that. And then obviously, like I said, the work with Madrika, working through that childhood trauma, and realizing that I need more of a growth mindset than a fixed mindset, and changing the way that I speak to myself, changing the things that I say to myself, my daily habits. All of that has ultimately, like, in a few short years, right? In a few short years, from like 2019, 2020, I bought my own house. I funded my own wedding. I built a 6-figure net worth. All of that, and I started from absolutely nothing.
You're a quiet horse, aren't you? You're a dark horse. You don't talk about it a lot, but behind the scenes, you're working.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the way I talk to myself? Do you talk to yourself? So, Eamon, what do you mean by that?
I think we all talk to ourselves at some level, right? Whether you express it out loud, or whether it's just like the voice in your head. Like, for example, you're stuck in traffic. You're like, oh, why does this always happen to me? And you can get, yes, you know what I mean? And it could be, and it's like, okay, now, whenever something bad happens, I mean, that was a silly example, but whenever something bad happens, or what on the surface seems like it's a bad thing that happens, I always say to myself, only good things happen to me. Because you don't know whether that thing was saving you from something worse.
What do you mean? Like the fact that you're stuck in traffic, if you would have been further ahead, maybe you'd be in an accident or something.
Exactly.
That's a
like
great
that.
relief to have.
Something like
So
that.
you talk to yourself like that, only positive stuff.
Well, yes. Yeah. Only
No
positive
negatives
stuff.
at all.
Yeah. I mean, even after a losing trade, I mean, I used to associate a losing trade with my intelligence, for example.
Wow.
Right.
Really?
Or because when you work hard at something and you know your capability, right, and you know your potential versus what you're seeing on your results, that is really hard to take, right? Or it was hard to take for me, at least, right? Because it's like, I know what I'm capable of, but I'm not proving it. I'm not proving it in black and white.
Right.
Did you see what I mean?
Well, yeah, this is fascinating. So how did you carry on? Why did you not give up? I mean,
because I knew what I was capable of. Because because of the work that I've been putting in, right? I know that I can break down a chart from a technical perspective. But, and I'm not saying this in a conceited way, but it's because I've done the work. I've put the work in.
yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean? So, it's it's having that confidence through the work that I've done and the belief that I know what I'm talking about, right? But there was a disconnect where I knew what I was talking about and I could project and predict where the price was going, but I just wasn't taking advantage of it, and it was killing me.
But is there a lag? Is there a lag? Like okay, I'm doing this, and then the results may become 3 months later, 6 months later, 12 months later. Is there a lag?
No, because I think what I was doing, for whatever reason, I was doing the opposite of what I knew that I should be doing.
It sounds like self-sabotage, no?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What was the belief then?
So it would get to a point where, for example, because I wanted to prove that I was the best, let's say, right? It would be like, okay, 10 winning trades in a row, and then you'd see that one red, and you'd go into self-sabotage.
Really?
Yeah. Because you're like, there's no way that I should have a losing trade if I'm this good at trading. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Really?
So, or if I'm this good at reading the charts, right? That's what it was for me. So, and then I had to completely detach from that association, because just because you had a loss, it doesn't necessarily mean that it reflects your ability, right? It could just be that, hey, listen, you did everything that you could, you controlled everything that you could control, but the market just didn't.
Coming back to what we're talking about here,
Yeah,
it's about
exactly.
the control is the only thing.
So it was having to work on that aspect and being like, hey, listen, a 70% strike rate or a 60% strike rate or 50% strike rate is freaking amazing. Exactly. Yeah.
You can make money with anything over 40%.
Exactly.
Have you ever thought, and we'll finish it here, but have you ever thought, maybe I'm just an incredible analyst, but the actual and then you give that to somebody else and they press the button?
Yes, but at the same time, I want to be able to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did think about that. Maybe I'm just a good analyst. Maybe I'm not a good trader. But then again, okay, do I want that as an identity? No, I want to be both. I want to be an incredible analyst, and I want to be an incredible trader. I want both. I don't just want one.
Oh, nice. Oh, I love that. Absolutely amazing. So, final thoughts. Break your limiting beliefs, breaking them by proving to yourself that you can grow. So, just what you just said. I'm an amazing analyst, okay, but I'm just not. No, but you know what? I'm going to keep going until I am that. Wow. Hat off to you there. Record your wins.
Yeah.
You're good at that. Step into discomfort. Surround yourself with bigger thinkers. Learn from people who've already walked the path. All of those things. Momentum and belief are built, not found. So you got to be looking for them, and you got to build on them. And like we always like to say, never quit, because if he can do it, you can do it too.
Yes.
We'll see you on the next Lunchtime Investor episode.